Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS news for Tuesday, January 11, 2022. New ministers have been appointed while others were reassigned as Prime Minister Andrew Holness made changes to the cabinet on Monday. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the changes are designed to facilitate greater coordination and synergy of resources. The ministers were sworn in during a virtual ceremony at Jamaica House earlier today. Floyd Green, Robert Morgan, and Homer Davis have been appointed Minister without Portfolio in the Office of the Prime Minister. Robert Montague and Matthew Samuda have been reassigned to the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation as Ministers without Portfolio. Dr. Horace Chang remains the National Security Minister, and Xavier Main is his Minister of State. Pernell Charles Jr. is the new Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, with Frank Witter as his junior minister. Audley Shaw will head the Transport and Mining Ministry, with J.C. Hutchinson as Minister of State. As for the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, this will be led by Aubin Hill. Ministers Fable Williams, Kamina Johnson-Smith, Nigel Clark, Darrell Vaz, Desmond McKenzie, Edmund Bartlett, Carl Samuda, Delroy Chuck, Christopher Tufton and Olivia Grange retain their former portfolio responsibilities. Former Attorney General Marlene Malahoo Fort has been tapped to lead a newly created Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs. Prime Minister Holness says this move reflects the need for greater focus and attention on constitutional and legal reform, as well as improving the pace of development and passage of legislation through the Parliament. Meanwhile, former Contractor General Dr. Derek McCoy is the new Attorney General. Dr. McCoy comes to the post with significant knowledge and experience in law. He is the former Dean of the Faculty of Law at the University of the West Indies, Mona. Dr. McCoy's appointment follows the reassigning of Marlene Malahoo Fort. In other news, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says he will be initiating an assessment of the Vision 2030 National Development Plan. The plan is for Jamaica to reach developed nation status by the year 2030. Mr. Holness says the review is separate from the built-in assessment of the plan that's managed by the Planning Institute of Jamaica.
I'm going to also seek to do a kind of external review as to where we are for our benchmarks against getting to Vision 2030. Because I don't think that we are all serious and on the same page about getting to that Vision 2030.
Mr. Holness was speaking last Wednesday at the Heal the Family, Heal the Nation National Day of Prayer, staged by the Power of Faith Ministries in St. Catherine. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says government may need to carry out constitutional reform of how it uses emergency powers regulations to deal with extraordinary situations. Part of the review would look at the two-thirds majority requirement for legislation to pass. In November, the Senate voted against a 3-month extension of the states of public emergency in 7 police divisions across the island. As he responded to questions Sunday, Mr. Holness reasoned that he would also be renewing social engagement efforts with the opposition, citizens, commercial interests, and civil society. The Prime Minister says there's need to have greater powers to address the crime rate, which is over and beyond the capacity of the security forces.
We are in a state of emergency. Whether or not you agree that it is constitutionally so is a different issue from what the actual state of play is. And if anyone doesn't recognize that we are in a state of emergency, which by definition means that you have to use exceptional powers to treat with those issues, then those persons don't live in Jamaica. They are blind, or they have a particular political motive to see the government's efforts fail for their political benefit.
We will have to look at everything, and it is not to be seen as taking power from anyone. But the truth is that in a democracy, an elected government is elected to govern and must govern.
The Jamaica Constabulary Force is reporting that 37 murders were recorded in the first 8 days of the year, a 32% increase over the same period last year. And finally, the Ministry of Health and Wellness says Jamaica could reach the peak week of the 4th wave of the coronavirus pandemic by the end of January or early February. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Besesa McKenzie says the projections are that the country could see as many as 11,500 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 during that peak week.
We're seeing right across the world that with the Omicron virus, it is proving to be a more transmissible virus. And so the numbers are rapidly increasing in several countries. And we have started to see that here. And based on the projections using the reproductive number, it could mean that we may take another 3 weeks or so to get to the peak of our this fourth wave. And in that peak week, we could have as much as 11,500 cases being confirmed based on the present numbers.
Dr. Bisesa McKenzie was addressing a recent press briefing. She says as the number of confirmed cases increase, the number of deaths can also increase in the region of 200 to 300 in that peak week.
The number of beds occupied could go way above the 1,200 where we were in the third surge, and could go up to almost 2,500 persons on beds.
Dr. Bisesa McKenzie reiterated the need for persons to get vaccinated and adhere to all the infection prevention and control measures. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.